It's our weekly sports episode. Well, you might as well call it our infamous podcast about sports and stuff. Where on this podcast, you get to hear a little bit of information about what's going on in the sports world, what's going on in the video game world, a little bit of the technology information, get a little bit of a music knowledge chat, two of our personal faves that we do on the show, the artist spotlight, and of course the infamous ass of the week. So stick around. You might actually enjoy the episode. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, hello, what's going on? Pass is back again with yet another episode 133. I am your host, BT. I'm not running solo today.
No, back at it again.
Coincidentally, had some stuff happen, life been rolling, but we've been moving, making things happen. We're in the midst of, we're kind of going to be picking games leading into the 1 o'clock games, but we don't have any TV or outside knowledge on knowing games, but we will be doing our regular weekly picks, and we have quite a few stories to talk about, along with some physicality going a little too far, and some very treacherous injuries. And of course, if you've been under a rock, the NBA season did get started. Before we get into all that, of course, given the background, podcasts are uploaded weekly to Spreaker.com. I'm locally slowly getting the pages uploaded to get more episodes posted from previous podcasts. Didn't realize we've gotten up to 133 so fast. So that's been a big deal. And of course, the microphone we're using is the Blue Yeti microphone. And like I said, we've had like a fun week of sports. It's been like a rocky road. I know you as an LA guy, it was kind of the let's give him hate for being an LA fan because Lonzo had a rough game one, but we'll chop into that a little bit because that's one of those things where it's like you got to give him get a benefit of the doubt and look at the circumstance. So,
and speaking about LA, the Dodgers clinched their way into the World Series, and then Houston also clinched their way over.
It was Yankees shocking as
well too.
Yeah. Let's give baseball its shots because I know it was kind of unexpected, especially with the Cubs kind of being like a known favorite to kind of have a potential of repeating and not making it.
And the Dodgers being always not showing up in the playoffs as well too.
Right, and the Dodgers actually checking in. So that it should lead to a good World Series. I know a lot of times with baseball, the challenge a lot of people have always told me, and I'm even guilty of it myself, is the biggest way of tracking baseball is if you're in person watching it, because trying to get stories and watching on TV, it's the matter of it of a factor of attention span, and then a lot of it's preference too. So
yes,
I've always looked at that as being the case. So week 7, before we go into our weekly picks, because we did I guess we'll do a two-parter because I think I might have mentioned it already. Of course, I'm in 2 leagues. The league that Dimitri and I are in together. Surprisingly, I'm 50 at 500, 3-3. I believe I'm playing one of your family, your brother actually, and that's gonna be going on. So we'll hopefully I have a decent run. I know you say you kind of hit a rough snag. I had a rough snag because we both did the bad mistake of sitting David Carr with the Kansas City game, and he actually had a pretty good performance. I know in the Yahoo league that I'm in, I believe he would have had 38 points from him alone. So
yes, he did show out this week, and then you were actually playing against my brother, Sat Amari Cooper. So a lot of other people had that problem as well too, or waived him or traded him. So
right, so had that going on, and then let me see. So just like I said, that league I'm 3-3. My other league I'm 0-6. I'm hoping every time I don't even try to look at it anymore. I just kind of let it flow as what it is. Since I'm adding this in as a fantasy wild card, I did join a fantasy basketball league. I don't know how that's gonna go. Started off kind of fun because already I'm sitting there, and one of the first players I picked up was Chris Paul, and they'll say he'll be out for multiple weeks, and I'm like,
that is true. Yeah,
this is just one of those. I'm not gonna get it right if I tried. So we'll like I said, just kind of giving y'all as we do the weekly fantasy update. As to what's going on. So of course we have our weekly picks, and to give you all an update because Dimitri didn't do any. Well, he didn't have any picks for last week, which is understandable because I was soloing for good reason. But he did go. So overall, his record is 36-22 going into this week, and my record as of right now is 43-42. So kind of to give a backstory, week 4 I was under 500, so I'm like, all right, week 5 should be a comeback week. Went 9-4, which then put me at 38-34. Then week 6 was like the greatest week ever, where I ended up going 5-8. So it was kind of like turning the field. So now I'm a game above 500. So hopefully week 7 will be good to me. We'll see how it goes. And as y'all know, after we do the recording, I usually make sure that I go ahead and listen back and verify what the picks were and put them in. I usually, for whatever reason, and this is random, I didn't realize this. I think, let's see, we do the episodes on Sunday. So we have Sunday games and Monday game. Mm-hmm. I still won't update the information usually until like Tuesday or Wednesday because I literally will have to like sit and say, oh yeah, we did do picks. Let me make sure I get everybody, put the L's and the W's where to like accurately pick them or whatever. So rolling into this week's picks, we'll start on the picks, but we do want to make sure we bring up a topic that was key to the Thursday night game because we didn't pick that game. Yeah. Kansas City, as we both feel, should have won that game, and it's kind of ironic because the field did pick Kansas City. The Raiders did come back and were able to finish that game off. Big story in the game was with Marshawn Lynch. He was suspended for 1 game, I believe, for pushing. He shoved into a ref. I want to make sure I don't paraphrase the story.
So yeah, he ran onto the field after there was like a little altercation. Someone on the other team, Marcus Peters, the cornerback, he had tackled the Raiders quarterback after he was running. So at that point, once you're running as a quarterback, you're a running back at that point.
Yeah, you open game.
And he didn't slide or anything like that. He tackled him. However, he still got the roughing. He got roughing the passer still.
Yeah.
And there was a little bit of like a little push and shove match going on in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
Marshawn Lynch runs from the sideline onto the field to try to break it up because Marcus Peters is like his cousin to him. It's like family to him, right?
Right.
So he just wanted to break it up. He wasn't trying to like add anything to it. Yeah. However, a referee saw him run out to the field and like try to stop him, and like he pushes the referee off of him.
Yeah.
And then at that point, he gets ejected and thrown out of the game.
Right.
I understand that he's trying to advocate and trying to like de-escalate the situation. You just can't put your hands on a referee though. Yeah. It's just like any situation, you just can't put your hands on a referee, even though you're trying to do the right thing.
Right.
At the end of the day, you still can't put your hands on the referee.
Yeah, I mean, it's the rules. The tough part about it is, as much as the NFL is getting it, like they're being very lenient. And I'll say this because we've gone 7 weeks, and I'm surprised I haven't addressed this. I will admit, since the touchdown celebrations have been more lenient and more flexible, rules like this I can understand because it's the rule. You can't really go against it, and I understand it's a shield. Yeah, so we'll suspend 1 game. Okay, so yeah, had that occurred, but like you said, putting your hands on the ref, you just can't do it. But just like I mentioned, I like the creativity because teams are going to a different level with, I think I've seen some team do a hot potato touchdown where they was throwing the ball at each other, and then I think one of them got the ball and just spiked it. So
yes,
I've seen the trend. The trend that I've not seen it multiple times, but I did catch it 1 game where I think somebody scored, gave the ball to like one of the linesmen so he could spike it because linesmen don't get that opportunity to score a touchdown. So,
and what I found that was interesting is that like whenever you see the player throw the ball into the stands after he gets a touchdown, they get fined $6,000.
I was wondering. So this is all right,
and then it's double each and every time after that.
Yeah. So this is a curious. And we're supposed to be doing weekly picks, but this is what happens when we don't catch up on shows. So I've learned that from different sporting events because I went to an arena football game, and at the game, like let's say a player throws a ball into the stands, you catch the ball, you don't get to keep that ball. What they do is they have a guy who's like on standby who sees the ball like you caught it, and the fan will be like, "Oh, I got the ball," da 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 da. But they tell you at the beginning of the game if you get a ball, someone's gonna come to you and they're gonna give you like a replica ball because they need those game balls for the game. And the same applies with the NBA. Like when it comes to the NBA, you can't keep like a friend. And I'm putting my friend on blast. I don't even care. But for whatever reason, he had this plan down to a science of, I want to go to a basketball game, get a NBA ball, and be gone. And I was like, they're not gonna let you. You can't do it. Like no,
they would not let you out.
They won't let you leave with a basketball. Like they have because for whatever reason, if I'm thinking of this correctly, there are a certain amount of basketballs they have for the game.
Yeah.
And they have to keep that inventory intact for the season, because at the end of the season, I guess they get rid of them and then they probably get like a new set. But going back to what you said with football, it's like, and me being a Cam fan, like it probably doesn't get public attention, but like I'm assuming like, so if he gets a touchdown, he gives it to a fan, that's a fine for him?
I don't think so. I think it's only if you throw it in there, because it's probably endangering somebody.
Okay,
You're throwing it in there, because what if someone's not paying attention or something of that nature?
Okay.
I haven't heard anything about someone handing it off.
Gotcha.
I think it's just when you throw it, because I saw someone about to throw it the other day, and then he stopped, and then that's when they talked about it.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. The more you know, 2%. I know y'all probably like, well, where did that come from? But anyways, so we got, like I said, we got a nice lineup of games. I know we're both going to try not to be biased, but we have unique games in both of our circumstances. So we're going to go ahead and go into our weekly picks. Hopefully this week I can make up and recover. Bucks at Bills. Phil picked the Bills. I'm actually going to be reckless. This will probably be my early reckless pick. Going Bucks.
Yeah, but this one I was actually questioning it throughout the whole time too. I was like, yeah, because the field picked the Bills by a lot. It was 85%,
right?
And I'm liking the Bucks as well too. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Bucks.
Okay. Panthers at the Bears. They did confirm. I did just get this notification on the way here. Benjamin is going to be active today. I actually saw the injury of the game when they played against Philly. I saw his knee, and I'm like, I'm surprised he's playing. But
then he re-aggravated it throughout the week, didn't he, on Wednesday?
Right. Mm-hmm. So they've been it's been kind of like a day-to-day questionable. They've had Cam as questionable for a while, but he should be playing. So I'm actually going to pick the Panthers. Trubinsky, good luck, but I'm sorry. No.
Yeah, the Panthers defense has been stepping it up, and they've been playing well. I'm going to go with the Panthers as well.
Okay. Titans at Browns. Something crazy would have to be in my brain to really think that I'm picking the Browns. Browns, as long as I see them, I'm going to be picking opposite, so I will be going Titans for this one.
Yeah, I didn't have to think about this one very much. I'm going to go with the Titans on this one.
Okay. Last week I got screwed on this, so I'm going to really be heavy in what I'm about to say. Saints at Packers. Of course, as we mentioned, as we'll get into in a couple of stories, Aaron Rodgers is out for a couple of days. They haven't given a time frame. I'm not sure. We'll get that story and get that confirmed, because I don't want to go too far ahead. Mm-hmm. But Aaron Rodgers will be out, and the Saints hung 52 against the Lions last week, so I was kind of distraught by that. So I'm actually going to pick Saints for that game.
Yeah, the NFC South has actually been playing well so far throughout this year. Yeah. I like what the Saints have been doing offensively, so I'm going to go with the Saints as well, especially since Aaron Rodgers isn't there and Hundley didn't really play that well last week.
Okay. Then we're looking at the Jags and Colts. Leonard Fournette will be out this week. They did confirm. I just got confirmation of that story as well. It's like now I'm turning into I've realized now doing podcasts is like I'm a beat writer. Like, I got this story that just pulled up, and let me go ahead and make sure I add this, because injuries factor into, of course, starting and sitting for fantasy league as well as for weekly picks.
Yes.
And as far as I'm remembering, Luck is still a no-go from what I recall.
Yes, he's just been practicing.
And this is a division game. This probably will be wild, because I guess I'm going to put the faith in Bortles, surprisingly. Picking the Jags.
Yeah, this one's definitely iffy game. The field has the Jags, just because the Jags defense has been stepping it up recently. Mm-hmm. They've been playing well. I'm actually going to go with the Colts in this one. They're at home. Let's see if Jacoby Brissett can take it home.
All we can do is believe. Cardinals and Rams. Majority of the field has the Rams, not by much. Carson Palmer and Fitzgerald kind of on that end of the road. Before we continue, because I don't believe I talked about this, I believe I addressed this last week, because I think it was one of the topics. Peterson did get picked up. By Peterson going to the Cardinals, I kind of had my doubts about that pickup. And I'm going to go ahead and eat my words, because he did actually have a 100-plus yard game in his last outing. So that's kind of going to add to me making it evident that I'm going against the field. I'm actually going to pick the Cardinals.
You're going to go with the Cardinals? Yeah, that one's it's a division game.
Yeah.
They always play against each other tough.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams, I believe, lost last week. They had a tough week. I'm going with the Rams this week.
Jets at Dolphins. Of course, again, Jets and Browns are kind of in the same category. I mean, and it's tough because I'm giving the Jets a hard time, but it's like the Jets and the Browns, I believe, both had decent runs against the current world's Super Bowl champs, but didn't finish the game. So I know you hate it, but I'm going Jay Cutler and going the Dolphins on this one. As bad as you don't want to.
I cannot. Me and Jay Cutler just aren't always on the same page. I feel like I'm like 0-4 whenever I pick the Dolphins games. Like I always pick it wrong.
Yeah.
So if I choose them to lose, they're gonna win. If I choose them to win, they're gonna lose.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with them to win.
Okay. And if they lose,
with the Dolphins, yeah.
if they go to lose, then that means for the rest of the season, you likely will say any game they playing, I'm not picking them. and I get it. I ain't mad. Ravens at Vikings. This is gonna be unique. I'm not gonna say. I always say each game is unique, but this will be interesting strictly because Baltimore has practically no offense. Like talking about it, Vikings offense is kind of coming together. We did confirm a story about Bridgewater coming back week 10. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick the Vikings for this one.
Yeah, the Vikings have been playing pretty well this year so far. I'm gonna go with the Vikings as well on this one, especially since they're at home.
Yeah. Dallas is San Francisco. Still same process. San Fran. It's kind of like San Fran, Jets, Browns. Like it's that cap. And I'm sorry, the next matchup too with the Giants because they just got their first win. But yeah, San Fran. I'm sorry, nothing against y'all, nothing against my friends who are fans of San Fran. I'm going Dallas.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's that much to think about with this one. No offense to anybody with San Francisco, but they're still a work in progress. I'm going to go with Dallas in this one, even with Ezekiel Elliott out. Yeah. It
shouldn't make too. I mean, it shouldn't be too heavy of an impact, especially with. I mean, you got Dez still picking it up, and then a lot of times this is where that interesting point of fantasy league comes into play because now it's that backup running back that's going to get the green light, and it's like they'll have a breakout game, and somebody will say, "Why didn't I start him? Or why didn't I pick him up?" Things of that sort.
Yeah.
Seahawks at Giants. They're at New York. It should. Seattle is a very surprising road team. They do pretty decent on the road. Mm-hmm. They're more home oriented than anything. I'm actually going to pick Seattle for this one.
For a second, I thought you were going to pick the Giants, and you said I'm actually going to pick. I thought you were going to be bold with that one. Yeah. The Giants have not played well this year, and I'm just going to go. I'm going with Seattle on this one.
Yeah. Now I can admit if Week 8 comes and they win, I'm gonna say it on podcast now. I'll eat my words. That's just how it is. I'll be accountable for it now. I think that's what makes football more interesting to break it down.
Yeah.
Bengals at Steelers. Steelers been on a pretty good run. It's ironic because in my Yahoo fantasy league nobody has been, so I guess it's kind of like they're not touching them for whatever reason. I'm actually going to pick the Steelers on that one.
Yeah, I actually had Ben in our league, and I actually dropped Ben just because he was not playing well. Right. The only week I started him was when they played against the Jaguars. The week he had 5 interceptions.
Ooh.
So yeah, you got dropped after that one.
That was a runaway.
However, the Bengals haven't been playing well either. I'm going to go with the Steelers, especially since they have a good offense around him and a good defense.
Okay. Broncos at Chargers. Ironic matchup because Broncos, I believe, lost last week. And the Chargers is kind of like you never know who you're going to see, especially with them being, with that, with the move and everything. This will probably be another one of my surprise picks because I want to, like I said, it's for balance of imbalance. I'm picking LA. This is probably going to be a reach because I know they've only got, 1 or 2 wins.
They actually beat New York, and New York's actually the one who beat the Denver last week. Right. So that's definitely I feel like that's a bold prediction right there.
Yeah.
I think the Broncos are going to bounce back. The Chargers at home. It's not really like a home game since they barely have any fans in the stadium.
True.
after they left San Diego, so
yeah,
I'm gonna go with the Broncos on that one.
Okay. I'm gonna let you start for this one because this is the Super Bowl rematch, and as I always call it, the tale of two halves. Falcons at the Patriots. Who you got?
Yeah, the Falcons. I said this to you before that they should be 1-4.
Right.
They've been playing terrible so far this year. The offense just hasn't been playing well. Mm-hmm. However, the Patriots' defense has not been playing well either. They've been letting up a lot of offense for the other team. Mm-hmm. I think the Falcons can bounce back and have some offense. However, I just think they're not going to win this one. I'm going to go with the Patriots since they're at home.
Going Pats. So it's surprising because I would want to pick, like, this is one of those moments where I'm like, I'm becoming a non-fan and an odd fan because usually if I'm looking at this correctly, so far I've picked Tampa Bay, I picked Carolina, and I picked New Orleans.
Yes.
So if I pull a clean sweep and pick Atlanta, and all 4 teams within our division, because I'm picking Atlanta, that would be a very unique circumstance, especially with me supposedly not trying to go for those teams.
Yes.
So I'm picking Atlanta for that game, and it's only because I'm not Brady. I'm gonna say this about Brady. Tom Brady's a great quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks we've seen in our era. I always say this every year about Tom Brady. He's gonna guarantee you 6 wins. The 6 wins come from his division, as far as like non-conference, non-divisional. And I know for the NFC South, Carolina gave him a tough time. I believe they still have New Orleans and Tampa Bay if they haven't played them already.
They played Tampa Bay.
They played Tampa Bay already.
And they barely beat them.
Right. So that's why that kind of ties into why I'm picking Atlanta for this game.
No, I definitely understand. This game can't go either way because they both have not played up to the standards that everybody thought they were going to play coming into this year.
Right.
So we'll see how the game goes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, and I think it was because it was kind of a mixture between New England having the hangover, Atlanta, like you said, trying to get their brains and get everything going with that. Our final matchup, the Monday night game, is Redskins at Eagles. Field pick Eagles. I would be a fool if I did otherwise, so I'm going to Eagles for that one.
Yeah, it's in Philadelphia. Philadelphia's been playing well this year. I think they're one of the top teams in the NFC this year. I'm gonna go with the Eagles as well too.
Okay. So as I tell y'all each week, those are our picks. They will be updated and shared. I have those listed in my note. I need to make sure I share the note with you so that way it's like an even view of it, and it's not all right. Well, I'm just putting L's and W's just to say I saw them, but I make sure it's you looking at it as just an honor code. Like if I'm doing it should be done right. Yeah,
I trust you.
Yeah, because and trust me, I ain't gonna sit like that would be the worst thing to do is be like, well, I'll make sure my co-host got a bad record on his, especially if I know I got busted up one week. I'm like, hey, this is one of my worst weeks. I tried to pick, but it didn't go well. So we've been doing our best to avoid the Colin Kaepernick political bandwagon, or I don't want to say political bandwagon, the Colin Kaepernick saga. That's a perfect way of calling it. The Colin Kaepernick saga. He's currently, as many of you may or may not know, he's currently unemployed. He opted out of his contract back in March. And since then, he's been trying to find a team to join to have an opportunity to play. As air quotey as I'm going to sound as saying this, sources have said it's kind of going back and forth of he doesn't want to play, he's ready to play, he wants to join the team. It's just been a back and forth process. So right now, we're currently at a stage where he's looking to file a grievance against the NFL due to collusion. The collusion process is very unique. The terming, I want to make sure you may be looking it up. If not, I'm going to look it up too because I want to be sure that I'm not using this term just to be using it because it's there. Because for whatever reason, it's observed or assumed as he's kind of being overlooked or overshadowed. So we're going definition breakdown for this one. If you have a different breakdown of it, then by all means, they have it as the word collusion itself means secret or illegal cooperation or conspiracy, especially in order to cheat or deceive others. So
yeah, it's like for this circumstance with Colin Kaepernick, it'd be like 2 or more teams or teams with the NFL as well too, colluding, like working together to exclude him from opportunity to signing a contract with the NFL. Okay. So it's them keeping him out of what he has the right to do.
All right. So to spin it from the NBA perspective, which I always am guilty of doing, it would be similar to the Chris Paul trade being blocked. Well, I ain't gonna say being. Well, I know it wasn't really a collusion because that was more so. It was a team owned by the NBA, so it's never mind. This is bad.
It's actually kind of it's different in a sense because there are actually NBA teams who actually contacted the NBA to get that trade blocked. Like Dan Gilbert was one of the NBA owners who contacted the NBA to try to get that trade blocked. Okay. However, that's a different sense because who were they colluding against at that time? Maybe against the Lakers. Right. But the Lakers, they didn't want to come up with that. Probably because other teams maybe have done it in the past, or it's just something that you don't do as a team, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not, like I said, it's just me. It's just kind of like that I just kind of understanding an overview of what's being said or what's being done. Now, so the article that I've shared that you'll see in the show notes has 16 points. Now, I skipped point 1 because it was kind of just the basic,
and it touches it from all angles as well too.
Right. Number 2 stood out to me from just the immediate observation as far as having the evidence or having the proof of stating here's what was done, and like you need actual evidence that there was collusion involved. I'm like I said, go ahead.
And with evidence, it can't just be like what someone's opinion is or speculation is, or like what we all seem to know. Like I believe that it's possible. I believe that they did like collude against him. Like maybe not in the terms of they're gonna have like proof about it though. Like they're not obviously not gonna be emailing each other like don't pick up Colin Kaepernick.
Right.
Texting each other, things of that nature, or be on recordings of that nature.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a gentleman's agreement. It's something that happened back in the 80s with Major League Baseball, where they made a gentleman's agreement not to make contracts or try to pick up other teams' free agents.
Okay.
So that's colluding right there. It's making it so other players can't go to their teams and try to like get more money for themselves.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of like they put a cap on their whole system. So I think that's kind of something that happened in this term. So kind of like a gentleman's agreement, like kind of like not to pick them up.
Yeah.
However, from the NFL standpoint, they could just say each team could just be like, we took our individual team. We thought about it.
Okay.
We thought it was too much attention being brought to us. He wasn't good enough for us. So at that point, we didn't want to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And that's just a one team deciding that. We didn't have to talk to other teams.
Right.
And now he has to prove it.
And that's the thing that you just said is I think what collusion can play into it. We can, breaking this down and being lawyers and trying to be, delegates in that regard. That's a whole nother world. But the general factor in my personal opinion and what has made this story gain so much attention, first and foremost, and before I go any further, because I'm going to be petty in what I'm about to say, this is week 7. So if any of you have stuck through 7 weeks of not watching football and boycotting, I'm going to check some statuses because I believe otherwise. But the media is going to be the deciding factor as far as this goes. And it's not the media's participation. It's, let's say, I'm trying to think of a team. I'm thinking of a low market team in the NFL.
The Chargers.
Okay. So let's say the perfect example. And it's kind of like the best of both worlds, especially being in LA and him being previously playing for San Francisco. Let's say LA were to look at him as a player. And they prospected and possibly bringing him in. Would the Chargers value that media attention? Or are they willing to take that risk in having that media attention? Because then, whether we realize it or not, the spotlight goes off of Phillip Rivers, even though he's still your starting quarterback. Because you have to. So what I'm looking at it like this, and help me if I'm wrong, because I'm like I said, this is where I like doing these type of shows because it's a learning curve for me. Mm-hmm. If he were to go to a team, no team is likely going to start him. From what the listenings and the ramblings have been, he would mainly be coming in as a backup.
Yes, he'd mainly come in as a backup. However, I don't think anybody can tell me that there are 32 quarterbacks in the NFL right now who are better than Colin Kaepernick
at all.
That's just not the truth. And if you say it, you're just lying.
Right.
However, yeah, they just don't want to put up with that attention for someone who's not like Tom Brady-esque or like Aaron Rodgers-esque.
Yeah.
However, for somebody like, say, like the Chargers or something of that nature, mm-hmm. when they're not bringing in fans as it is, I guess, as they say, like, any publicity is good publicity. You know what I mean?
So what about the Jets? Because the Jets are starting a 30, like, the reason, and I'm saying the Jets recklessly.
I was thinking the Jets when we were talking about it.
The Jets have a 38-year-old quarterback as a starter.
Yeah, the Jets would be also, like, a good option as well, too, just because at the end of the day, do you want to win, or like, are you? What are you really mad at Colin Kaepernick for?
Right.
Because the conversation was stolen from what he was actually intending to do with what he was doing. Like,
yes.
So if you're mad at him, say protesting the national anthem, you're mad at the wrong thing in that situation.
Right.
And you're just talking about the wrong thing because his subject was like it was hijacked at that point. So
and that's what that's the other side of it. And this kind of flips it to the media point of view. The story of what Colin Kaepernick took a knee for has been totally misinterpreted in the past year.
Yes.
And I feel like that is what has made this such a overstepped boundary, because now, thanks to him doing this, people are put into a position where they have to either talk about it or quote unquote act like it doesn't exist.
Yes.
When in reality, the acting like it exists option is not the best option, but the alternative to not acting like it doesn't exist is by not picking up the person that's generated this attention. Does that make, like, I know that's kind of like a weird 6 degrees of separation, but that's truly how it comes across and how it comes together if you look at it as far as the timeline goes. Because here it is, he took a knee. Other players, were in Unite and saying, hey, we're taking a knee because we understand why he took a knee. And then here it is, this season comes along and teams are taking a knee because they're looking at it as, well, Trump, we're protesting against Trump. Okay, if y'all doing it for that reason, that's fine. But what was tough about it was a lot of media, a lot of interpretation looked at it as, well, this is time to why Kaepernick isn't playing. All different reasons, because if you look at it now, like, and a friend of mine brought this up, and I'll ask you as a co-host and as a sports fan. Jerry Jones brought up the reference to the comment about if players took a knee or decided to kind of have their stance about everything, that he was going to fire, or he would fire him or release him from the team.
Yeah, he said that they would not play.
They would not play. So let's think about that for a second. Let's say, and I'm going to stretch with what I'm about to ask, because I know it's impossible to say, because I'm taking it away from the Cowboys. We can look at the Super Bowl champions. Let's say that Tom Brady decides he's going to go different and flip the script, and he says, you know what, me and my team, we're going to decide to take a knee, or we're going to decide to protest and not participate with this. And Jerry Jones I'm making an unrealistic scenario to just kind of put it in perspective. Like, let's say Jerry Jones was owning that team and following that.
Or just Robert Kraft.
Right, or Robert Kraft decided to make that choice. To say, you know what, I'm going to do what Jerry Jones did, and they all decide not to play. Does that mean that they decide not to take a knee, or they don't show up during the national anthem? Do you then say, all right, none of my team's going to play, and y'all going to just take a forfeit? Like,
I thought of it from a different perspective. I thought of it from, say, Jerry Jones' perspective. Like, why did you come out and say that? Because the thinking is, Des Bryant had previously, before he said that, said, I'm not gonna take a knee for anything. Like, I have to eat. Like, I have to worry about my family. Like, he said that previously.
Right.
Ezekiel Elliott's going through this whole spiel with him about to be suspended for domestic violence. So obviously he's not going to take a knee anyways. He can't afford any more drama being any more branding attention to battle. Exactly.
Right.
Dak Prescott, I believe he's already said that he's not going to do it as well too.
Right.
So most of the players on the team has already said that they're not going to be doing that.
Okay.
So I don't get the point
of making
and nobody on the Cowboys had ever previously done a knee during the anthem.
Yeah.
So I don't get his point in saying that. And he just said disrespecting the flag. And then after they said that to him, there were two players on the Cowboys who actually had their fists up during the flag.
Yeah. But he even took a knee during one of the games. That's what I'm confused about.
And that's the thing with that is that was just a show, obviously, because he just went and he actually grabbed that cameraman to take a picture of him before that, and you could see him just staring up to trying to pose for the picture as well too. So when it's not really a show, these people they're not doing it for the show, and I don't like them trying to when they change the conversation to kind of rebut the president, because the president was just doing that because he always does things like that to creates headlines and things that will help
get him the next bit of attention.
Exactly. So right. I don't get why they fed into it as well too. And it also just changed the whole conversation once they did that.
Yeah.
So the conversation should have started and ended with what Colin Kaepernick had started his conversation with. However, it's gotten changed throughout the last year.
That's true. That's a valid point. Now I'm going to ask you this question, and I'm wanting to remember because I'm not sure if I feel like this was talked about on a podcast, or I feel like it was something that was addressed or may have came up. Have Kaepernick and Goodell actually sat down and had an actual conversation?
That's actually one thing I also want to touch on, because the NFL and some owners met with some of the players as well too this past week. They
Right.
met in New York at like the headquarters. And some of the players, they actually invited Colin Kaepernick to come in as well too and meet with them. They wanted to talk about how they can help each other make changes without, like, say, with just social justice, like just with social injustice, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, Colin Kaepernick did not show up.
And
with my thing, it's like you just always want to at least show up and be present, and to be there. Like we already understand that he's been putting his money where his mouth is by donating and putting his money out there in the community and helping out with these type of things. However, actions also help as well too with showing up for something like this. You were taking a knee during that when you were playing football. So now, like, join in. Make your voice heard.
Yeah, that's the way to make it, like, you're showing your skill set of showing what you have benefits not just on the field but off the field in the case of the game, not just your, like, the personal things that you're doing as far as being an advocate, being out there, publicly. All of that's fine and all of that's great, but you also have to make just like you said, if they made it, if an invite was open and it's to benefit the possibility of you getting a job with the company or with the NFL, go. What's the worst that can come from it? Like,
I don't think it was for a job for him getting a job.
Not getting a job, but it's at least set the fire. Set the fire to at least tell you, like, hey, I want to at least sit down and talk and just figure out what's going on and let's break it all down.
He probably talk his side and show how he's feeling from his point of view.
Right.
And it may change some perspectives from the NFL owners, since I believe there's like 12 or 13 owners that were there as well too.
Yeah.
I just don't think it was good for him not to show up.
All right, so we every time this conversation comes, we always come back to this question: do you feel that he will be playing this season?
I feel his career is over, especially after he filed the collusion suit as well too.
Do you feel like he's going to lose this case?
Oh, I believe he's going to lose the case just because in court you have to show some proof.
Yeah,
and it's going to be very hard to come up with some proof that two or more teams or the NFL and teams colluded with each other to keep you out of the NFL and prevent you from signing with the NFL.
Right.
He has to have some sort of proof, and I don't get how he would get that proof. Maybe through his agent or agents. Mm-hmm. But no, I don't think he's gonna win. How do you feel about that?
So to give both answers, do I think he'll be playing this season? I doubt it. Do I feel like he could play at some point? Not really. I feel like he's untouchable in a sense, as far as, like, even, let's say, and this is where the media part comes into play for me, and I think about it like this. Let's take a reckless shot and say ESPN decides they're going to do a special Sunday one-on-one conversation with Kaepernick. Do you know how much money that would bring back? Like, ESPN's already in the trenches of the struggle right now with kind of, and I know I talked about this a little bit before. ESPN had to transition, but ESPN didn't know how to transition because it was digital. Everybody gets stories on Bleacher Report on the fly. We don't sit and say, let me see what SportsCenter are talking about, unless it's for the benefit of Fantasy League. Staring back to this, he, sits down and talks to Rachel Nichols. They get the scoop, they get the beat, they get the information from, do you want to play in the NFL? Or if she even asked the question, well, why didn't you sit down with the owners? And why didn't you sit down with them? Like, getting that type of engagement can then trigger the attention, but will it get them back in the league? No.
And that's one of the things that I just don't agree with as well, too, with his stance, is just that he hasn't been vocal about it since we haven't seen him in months now.
Nope.
It's been more conversation that's been started.
It's been more family members, the girlfriend,
his mother.
Yep.
I feel like he should have spoke up as well, too, like, to
kind of speak his piece on it.
Exactly.
But that's what's kind of ironic, because if you look back at the story, like, when everything happened last year the incident occurred. Well, not the incident, but he took a knee. Mm-hmm. It happened a couple days later. He, addressed it with the media. He was addressing it through the entire season. This season, I think he's not as vocal because it's not him being vocal with the NFL. It's more so him being vocal from his side. And I just think he's not sharing the story. Now, whether that is right or wrong, I can't really say. To answer the other part of it, you said...
I feel like he's wanting to make some changes. Like, he's wanting to make changes, like, in how things, like...
How the world functions.
Yeah. And right now, he's been a hot topic, right?
Oh, yeah.
However, he hasn't said anything. So he still has that platform to be able to say anything and touch, like, and reach outlets that he wouldn't have touched before.
Right.
So now's the time that he should be speaking out and making his voice heard.
That's true. I missed the second. I probably skipped over and flew by the second question, but his, like I said, career wise, it's really gonna kind of be make or break on his point or his choice. It's just the tough part is he's an untouchable source of discussion for media and for just general like sports purposes. Like in the NFL, and I bring this up all the time, and I think I'm like the worst person for saying this. And we talk about this consistently. NBA, so it's a logo of a person. So it's single, it's kind of single oriented. It's team based, but when you think of the NBA, you think of single players like LeBron, Wade, Durant, et cetera, et cetera.
Players League, yes.
Right. The NFL is a shield. Mm-hmm. There's no player on the NFL logo. If you find one with it, it's not a real logo. It's not an NFL logo. But players such as Brady, Rodgers, Cam, like all of your superstars that are in the NFL, quarterbacks, running backs, wides, etc., they're part of the game, but you don't ever at any point see them become bigger than the game. Yeah. Kaepernick has become bigger than the NFL, and they don't like it. And I think that's the biting source of what's going on, because now it's not even about football anymore. It's more about, like, at that point when he was doing what he did, it wasn't about football. So he became bigger than football, and he generated the attention that then led to where we are now. And it caused people to be like, oh, we need to talk about it. But we've been trying to get people to talk about it for years, especially with people, police brutality, killings, things of that nature, just trying to get the message out there. So, I mean, we'll see how it all comes together, but I just don't see him playing this year. Speaking to not playing this year, and I know this is kind of a random segue, but it's kind of going to tie in pretty well. Aaron Rodgers is actually going to be getting surgery. He had surgery done on the 19th for his collarbone. He broke his collarbone back on last Sunday. They haven't really given a time frame of how long he's going to be out, but the main gist of this is a huge blow to the Packers.
Yes, the Packers were looking like the team to beat in the NFC, to be honest, just because the Falcons had fallen off a little bit.
Right.
They're very questionable, and there's just questions around the whole NFC with Seattle as well too. They couldn't protect Russell Wilson, and just all around. So they were looking like the team to beat, especially with Aaron Rodgers always getting better throughout the season. However, one tackle and it changes the whole season. Yeah. He's had a broken collarbone before. I believe it was in 2013, but it was in his non-throwing shoulder. Yeah. And he ended up coming back towards the end of that season. However, this is in his throwing shoulder. Right. So I believe that may take longer for him to rehab, because he may come back in the same amount of time, like being able to start practicing again. Mm-hmm. However, throwing wise, his arm's going to be weaker. So it's going to change a lot. It depends on the severity. They haven't really said how severe it was. Right. Because it can take anywhere from 6 to 16 weeks for like a broken collarbone, they say. Yeah. 16 weeks is obviously longer than the season at this point. Yeah, true. So we'll have to just wait to see like what the next evaluation is for him. Yep. Do you see them making the playoffs still?
Good question. It's the NFL. They can. They have the ability to do so. I mean, you look so. As we always break down playoff scenarios, or look at how teams can kind of make or break the process. You got your 4 division teams, you got your 2 wild cards. Could Green Bay win the division without him? I would say no. That's just right now. Like if I had to just kind of look at it and break it down, unless their defense was like on a whole nother level,
which it's not,
right?
Which I would agree to.
So that kind of pushes me away and saying I can't see it right now. But could they get one of the 2 wild card spots? It's a make or break process. It's achievable, but it's just a matter of how it all comes together. I'm kind of double dipping a little bit. So you have Brett Hundley coming in as that's our guy now. The question now comes into play how he's gonna look as a quarterback.
Because he didn't look too good in his first week.
I think he was scared. He probably didn't, because you never like. I watch, I watch football games from time to time, and I always think about this as a thought. Most backup quarterbacks are not really thinking of, if I get in the game, what's going to happen, or like, let me go ahead and prepare to like start throwing. Mm-hmm. And the only, like, he probably started practicing his throwing when Rodgers went down. Yeah. But before that, I highly doubt it.
Probably before the game, just doing his routine, just as a warm up, so he's not just standing around.
Exactly. So now, for shits and giggles, just 2%. If the playoffs were to start right now, the Giants would be. And granted, we only got 6 games, so it's kind of like not a set. We're set. We're only on week 7, so we can't really give a full evaluation. But the Packers would be a wild card team, and they would actually play, which, again, unrealistic. They would be playing the Rams. So you had the Rams playing the Packers. You had the Saints playing the Panthers, and that pretty much covers as far as your division teams. Because then your bye teams would have been the Eagles and the Vikings.
So then I don't see them making it actually even into the playoffs, just because I feel like they're going to fall down below that.
Right.
And I feel like there are teams that are still improving. Like, I believe the NFC South is going to at least have 2 teams in the playoffs. Yes. So that takes up 1 wild card spot.
Yeah.
And then with the NFC West, I believe may also have 2 teams in the playoffs as well too, with either the Rams and Seattle,
right, or
maybe the Cardinals, depending on how they're playing towards that stretch as well too. You can never count out the NFC East with maybe the Cowboys coming back.
Yeah,
and the Eagles look like they're gonna make it to the playoffs.
Yeah, because keep in mind, right now the Rams have the best record in their division.
And the Seahawks always start off slow. Right. We have to remember that last 3-4 years they've always started off slow. So. Yeah.
So we'll keep it out. Like I said, I shared that story because I really do want best wishes for Aaron Rodgers. That injury, I mean, that when he went down, it's tough, and then it didn't help because when he went down, Hundley went over to like wish him luck and like speedy recovery. Hopefully they work all right. And then it's like, all right, I got to come in and play, and it's like, all right, I know the offense, but you're coming in the middle of a game and you have to just be ready to go. But that's the role. And then it was I didn't get the names. They're back, so then that kind of changed their depth chart because then their third string became second. They picked up another quarterback, so then that generates the question again: why didn't they get Kaepernick?
Yes.
Like I know we're going back to the Kaepernick story. I just feel like teams aren't touching him or not wanting to address having him as a quarterback because of that media presence that's going to come with getting him on their team,
or any fan backlash that they may receive.
Because the minute the jersey is generated, the minute he goes to a team, once that jersey is made, someone's going to find it's. And I hate to use the Cleveland LeBron reference, but they're going to find a way. Oh, we got a jersey from when he's with the Jets, and let's burn his jersey. He's not welcome here. Or, like, he could play for a team, or just be on the team and not even start or not even play, and they just booing because he's playing on the team.
Or send hate mail and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
So the NFL, it's a lot to it, just not solely from him not being picked up or not playing or whatever. Why do my stories always do this? So Ezekiel Elliott is our next topic, and his suspension has kind of been a back and forth. 1 minute it's he's out. They were saying he was going to have a 6-game suspension. They turned around and said, you know what? Well, like, he had a 6-game suspension. They threw it out. They decided, all right, we're going to go ahead and let him play. He played a couple of weeks. Now it's, nah, bro, you got to serve that suspension. So, it's almost as though it's turning into a back and forth. It's somewhat of a back and forth. The VP, so let's see, Joe Lockhart is the VP, NFL's VP of Communications. He did state that we're not looking to make a deal. We are confident that our argument will prevail in court, and this is based on not trying to. The NFL is avoiding looking to settle dispute involving Elliott's 6-game suspension based on the charges that are in question. According to at least one report, the NFL is seeking preliminary injunction, here next week before the Cowboys face the Redskins, which is ironic. The hearing is set for the 30th. It's a lot going on with this, and it's just kind of it's grayer and grayer, but it's almost as though the NFL knows that they have to set a standard in making sure if they do this right, they want to do it right, but they also don't want to screw it up.
Yeah, and it actually looks like Ezekiel Elliott actually is playing today.
Right, he's playing.
He's playing today, but then they have a hearing next week on the 30th. So that's what things will. It's definitely this is a saga as well too.
Yeah,
I believe at the end of the day he's going to end up serving a 6-game suspension.
Yeah,
when he serves it, it's the real question actually.
Yeah, because you also have to look at it as far as the jury getting going to trial. When is the trial date? Things of that sort. If he's actually found guilty, and they confirm X, Y, and Z, getting all of those pieces into play is when it'll kind of be like the tell all be all. So 2 reasons. I shared the story because I know last week I was supposed to have it listed, and I really didn't give it too much attention, which kind of feel bad about, but I went ahead and got it for this week. But do I think he'll serve the 6 games? Yes. Will it be this season? I doubt it, because I feel like they're gonna prolong this case.
I don't know how it's gonna go. I believe. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's gonna serve it this year either. Or if he does, it's gonna be really late in the season, which is gonna be even worse for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
But yeah, I believe it may be next year, the first 6 weeks next year.
I mean, having him or not having him, it's one way or the other. It's because he's been a pretty strong force. I think I was even guilty at one point, and I think I took him out because between the suspension, along with the between the suspension and then whether he will or won't play, and his production wasn't all that great. I think I ended up letting him go because it was like you really don't know. Because at any point he could get dropped, or they could just not drop, but they could just say, "Well, look, we're gonna go ahead and have you out for this time, and this time." It could go into the off season. I feel like if it goes into the off season, it would be helpful for him. So that way, if they get a result and it's like, okay, when next season starts, you got to do 6 games, get it out the way, keep it moving. So, I don't want to brush past that story too heavily because it's not. It's really not much.
We just have to stay tuned with
it
to figure out
what
happens.
We'll keep it. If a late breaking story breaks from it, then it'll definitely be added into the podcast. I don't want to downplay it, and I guess it's me being me because I'm looking at all right, the NBA, NFL, yay. I'm always gonna love my NFL. But basketball is back. We did get our first flare / share of some NBA games. I'll cliff note as much as I can. Celtics played the Cavs. There was big questions about how Kyrie and LeBron would address each other. They really didn't address. They made it
before the game. Now.
Right before the game, it was kind of a dap you up. All right, we're gonna jump ball with pregame.
I don't even think they dapped him. I think he just walked right behind him, didn't he?
No, he dapped him.
Oh, he dapped him?
He did dap him. But I will say this: at the end of the game, you could tell the respect exists because Kyrie went for the game-winning shot and missed it. And even though he missed the shot, LeBron went up to him and he did the handshake. I'm not gonna try to do it on.
I think that was out of
camaraderie.
Not camaraderie, just it was just a reflex. I feel like that was their reflex to just end up doing it. I feel like that was kind of awkward.
But they did the whole, and I'm just like,
that's kind of awkward.
So you thought y'all was on teams again, but there's a key story we're gonna talk about from that game. We're not gonna talk about that yet because it's still one of the most gruesome things I've seen. I think Kyrie was playing in another game. He made some obscene comments to one of the fans when he was leaving the game. DeMarcus Cousins got fined from a game for making some obscene comments.
Kevin Durant ended up
flipping a bird at a player because I heard they were upset about that game against Memphis. I didn't
run a lot of fouls against the Warriors, and they just weren't playing well either.
Right.
The only person who really actually had good shooting percentage was Steph.
Okay.
And he was in foul trouble the whole game.
I think Steph got ejected. Oh no, he threw the mouthpiece, right?
He threw the mouthpiece and he got ejected.
Has he not learned yet? Didn't we wait?
Well, he was mad that he got like so many fouls called on him so quickly, and then he got fouled, and he was like, "Yo, I'm not having this."
So the new thing now.
It was like with 2 minutes left in the game, so he was like, "At this point, like I'm out of here anyways. Like we losing, like I'm gonna throw this at you."
So I'm gonna talk about this because this is random. So if he gets, I wonder what his foul count is. If he get to like 3 or 4 fouls, if he just decide, you know what, time to throw the mouthpiece. Let me take a chance.
No, it's just because with that game, he hadn't had that many fouls in the first half since
Right.
2013.
Yeah,
So that was like a one-off situation, and
Yeah.
it was just I don't get how he was so frustrated too when like he dropped 37 points and he was mad as could be.
But 37 and an L is not
Yeah, he
a
was
good
not
combination.
happy. He was not happy with it. Like you could tell how pissed he was.
Yep.
And he threw it at him too. Like it wasn't
Like it was it was like going for
I think he late reaction threw it at the floor. So I think
Yeah.
he wanted to throw it at him.
right, yeah. So we'll talk about. I'm saving the best for last. You know that before we go into the 2 stories we have. Phoenix had a great start.
Oh yeah, they've let up 130 or more in each of the first 3 games. So they
They had a great start.
defensively, I don't think they practiced that during the off season.
But
The process started. I don't think they know it started yet. Though.
the process is in question.
Still in the process.
The process has concerns.
But then again, I looked at it again and I saw the teams that they played against, and all 3 of those teams were playoff teams last year.
Yeah.
So I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. They play against, I believe it's Orlando next.
Yeah. So that might be a test.
You have to win that game.
You have to. I mean, it is. I'm just
0-3.
Yeah, but so all right. I'm gonna say something about the process because we delved into it a little bit. I think they don't have it in place as to what they're trying to do.
I like Simmons though. Simmons has been playing well. He's the first person in their franchise history to start his career off with 2 double-doubles.
Yeah.
And first person in NBA history to start off their first 3 games with at least 10, 10, and 5.
Yeah.
Since Oscar Robertson back in 1960.
Right.
So he's starting off well.
That regard. I mean, and I'm expecting the offensive side of it. I know he's more of a pass oriented guard. The tough part about it, and this is gonna tie into your boy when we get to him, is that killer instinct. And I'm not expecting you to get it as a rookie. And also keep in mind, this is Ben Simmons' rookie round 2 because it's almost like he was supposed to be a rookie last year but didn't play. So now this year he's trying to come in, and then Markelle Fultz can't make free throws.
And he's coming off a little bit of an injury as well too with his shoulder, so he's not even starting yet.
Still don't help that he can't make free throws.
Oh, his free throw shot is it is.
They showed
He doesn't know how. Like he's like.
It's like a confusion.
He's very confused with his stroke of his free throw, with his formation. So he needs to work on that.
Yeah.
Embiid, he's like shooting threes a lot now, and.
All right, so now you said that. So now that I was gonna wait, but I'm gonna talk about it. Why is Brook Lopez shooting so many threes?
Well, he actually made a good percentage of
He
threes
did.
last year.
I'm not taking nothing away from that part of it, but I'm just like, this man is shooting threes like he is like he think he a god.
He said you gotta keep him honest.
Yeah,
but he does work. He also goes down to the post as well too.
He does.
He
can mix and match on it, so I will give him that.
And let's be real, the Lakers aren't going anywhere this year anyway, so I'm not even.
No,
I just want to see some progress out of the young players like Lonzo Ball.
I think
Brandon Ingram, some of the younger players.
Yeah,
Brook Lopez, you there for a year?
It'll be a year or 2. They'll do a year or 2 and then probably send him on his way because I mean it's not really. He's there more so for the veteran leadership, if anything.
And to help with the development of these younger players, to help so they have actually a little bit of a force down there, someone who could get 20 points a night. Because he's done that. He did that last year.
Right.
He can do that again this year. It makes it easier for Lonzo as a passer.
Right.
To be able to have someone to pass the ball to.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm stalling the LA story because I want to make sure I got everything. I mean, like I said, the season's starting like I expected.
What about OKC and how they've started? Their first 2 games were two
extremes.
Yes, definitely 2 different.
So first of all, and I know this will never happen, but in my world, I would love to see Hoodie Melo in game.
That'd be nice.
That would be helpful because I think that will help give him that spark of actually playing. And it's just kind of one of those unique scenarios, it's one of those one-offs as far as it's ironic their first game was against their old team, or against his old team. So it was kind of like him having that opportunity to show out, but then Porzingis was like, I'm gonna show you why you shouldn't have left. But it ain't like we need you anyway. Even though the reality is it's the Knicks, so we already know what we expect.
Yeah.
That team is gonna need. It's gonna just come. Chemistry is just gonna have to build with time.
Yeah, they gelled well the first game against the Knicks, but maybe that was just because they were trying to have their teammates back in Carmelo against his former team. Like, you can't lose to the Knicks, especially like you can't lose to the Knicks.
Something's wrong if you lose to the Knicks in that, especially in that circumstance.
And then last game, Westbrook just had a bad game. He just had an off game. He had, I believe, it was 6 points, like 13 rebounds, which is good.
Yeah,
6 assists and like 7 turnovers. So it just wasn't a good game for him.
Was he? Was it one of those force-based games or?
Things just were not flowing for him. They just were not flowing for him. Like, he forced a little bit, but not too much though. Not like nothing like extreme like he's been used to in the past.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna get better at like calming himself down, making himself a playmaker. Playmaker more because he can play make and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He likes to be on the attack mode more often than not though.
Right. That's a switch that you just aren't gonna see turn off anytime soon. It's 32 teams. I'm telling you now, I'm not gonna go through all 32. But they did so. Before I get in, I'm going to do LA. I got one last story, and then we'll do the LA topic. So the new brand for the jerseys is Nike.
Yes.
I initially was going to make this ass of the week, but I didn't because I realized that story it really wasn't much to the story. So they were bringing up the attention about the jerseys, and there were issues with the jerseys tearing. And they brought up, i.e., LeBron James, of course, and it was coincidental because when they showed the jersey that he had, it was torn literally right down the middle between the 2 and the 3.
Yeah, I saw that.
Side note from that, I think they're doing a charity from that event, a charity from the opening games, as far as like they're gonna sell the jerseys for like charity to donate to charity, and that's one of the jerseys. They're actually gonna sell his jersey. The one that was torn. I'm like, so you mean to tell me somebody's gonna, and I can see somebody buying it, because it's gonna be a game worn jersey from that game, and it has a rip perfectly down the middle, and the person that buys it better not even waste time trying to sew it and stitch it up. Just leave it. That way you can say it was the new Nike era for jerseys. I still got my questions about them because I noticed like some teams are sponsored, some teams aren't.
Yes.
I understand that, understand how that's all going. Let's see. And from what I can tell, I like the new look of the jerseys. I know that's like 2%, but that's just my intake. So we're going to go ahead and get to since that was actually game 2 from opening night, the Lakers and the Clippers. I'm going to pass this over to you, and then I'll jump as needed about it, if need be.
So the Lakers have played 2 games so far this year. Today they played their 3rd game. Mm-hmm. But the first 2 games they played against the Clippers, game 1, they got manhandled pretty much the whole game, and that's literally 2 as well too with Lonzo Ball. Getting manhandled by Patrick Beverley, 94 feet. Mm-hmm. Made sure he had 3 points, 1 of 6 with 9 rebounds and 4 assists. His first game. It's not a great first game. It's just not a great first game. However, Patrick Beverley likes to defend 94 feet, so that's just very extreme. Not everybody in the NBA does that. Barely anybody in the NBA does that. Like he does it. That's why he was first team all defense last year. Yeah. And then second game they play against the Suns, who we talked about previously, who have such a great defense. Handed out
plenty of defense in Olay.
They think they're Oprah, like you get a bucket, you get a bucket, you get a bucket. Yeah, and Lonzo Ball had 29. 11 and 9. Yeah, potential and Brandon Ingram had a great game as well too at 24. Yeah. Almost everybody had double digits that game. Yeah. And they still barely won that game. So it's two very extremes, I feel. Yeah. So I don't really put too much into both of those games. Right. I think there's 2 games. I'm just wait to see how he does. I feel like it's gonna be an up and down season for him. Yeah. For the most part, I feel like he's gonna do pretty well. Probably be first team all rookie, I believe. Yeah. Because he's gonna have the ball so much, so he's gonna be able to put up stats. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's true. And then I don't think he's gonna win rookie of the year. I think actually Ben Simmons, since how he's been playing, I think Ben Simmons is gonna get the rookie of the year nod. But I think it's going to be a decent season for them. I don't see them making the playoffs. Okay,
you gotta be real with it.
I just see them improving from last year, though. I feel like that's just the goal. Maybe between like 33 and 38 wins. Okay, that would be an improvement. That'd be a great season.
Okay. And I know I'm dodging him, especially being a Houston fan. Paul is out they said 4 to 6 weeks. They've given me, I've seen so many different timelines, but Paul is going to be out for a while. So it's kind of going to be back to business as usual.
But James Harden can handle the shit though. He can man it.
He'll handle the ball. They'll use Clint Capella pretty well. It's tough because now we don't have much of a bench. Eric Gordon is kind of going to be our go-to for 6-man. They luckily didn't let go of Ryan Anderson.
No, they did not.
Because I know that was like they were wondering if that was going to be a piece as far as the trade. But we gave up a lot of our bench players. I know Montrezl Harrell was gone. Lou Williams,
Sam Decker, Beverly,
and Lou Williams actually looked good. From in that Clippers game. I mean that Lakers game.
Yes.
So adding to what you said with the Lakers Clippers. Like I said, game 2 I really didn't watch. Game 1 I really did. I sat and like kind of just noticed everything. Like a lot of people, like the media has been deciphering his everything. Mm-hmm. He played the way I expected him to. He had rookie game. I call it game 1 rookie jitters. A lot of shots. He took pretty good shots. He was able to kind of outplay. He got by Beverly a couple of times. Beverly got some steals off him a couple of times.
Yeah.
He played the mental game against him early on in the game, and Lonzo kind of shook a little bit.
I think Lonzo stayed.
He kept composure. Yeah,
I feel like he stayed even keeled throughout the whole game. He didn't get too fresh. He didn't get.
Yeah,
frustrated
he didn't
at
get
all.
attacked because of it. Because I mean, most times Patrick Beverly can push you to that point.
Yeah.
Because it was a point where me playing how I am in certain games, if Beverly had came to me and gave me that type of push, I probably would have had to give like a push off to just say, all right, I'm here, and I understand you want to make your presence. But I think Lonzo just kind of played it off and kind of, he stayed true to Lonzo.
For example, like Stephen Curry, generally speaking, he doesn't get too heated,
right?
Except for like last night, and then Patrick Beverly seems to always get under his skin as well too.
Yeah, he definitely can get under. I remember because in the Houston Golden State, even though Golden State gave him the business,
he was still getting under his
Houston,
skin.
like Patrick Beverly made it known, like I'm still here, I'm still gonna be pastoring you and standing under you the whole way. But Beverly kind of played the outsmart game with him because he was like So a couple of weeks ago, they posted a tweet and saying, I'm looking forward because our first game will be against the Lakers, and I get to be the first guy to play against Lonzo. And it wasn't. I think everything is not about Lonzo in this case. It's more or less about his dad, as far as like how his dad has talked about a lot of players and talked about a lot
of to like stop Lonzo or to do work on Lonzo to shut his dad up. Yeah, just like after the game, Patrick Beverly had a little interview, after the game, post game conference and whatnot, and they asked him. He was like, after all this riffraff that his father started, there's gonna be a lot of people coming after him in the league. I let him know after the game that a lot of people have been coming after him in the league to what his father said. And he was like, I just wanted to welcome his young expletive into the league. Yeah, and then I think another media person wanted him to repeat it, and he was like, no, you heard what I said. I'm saying what I said. Like it's an introduction. It's a way of. And it wasn't like it was a hazing or anything. It was just more so like you welcome young fella to the league. We're gonna let you know how this work, and if you're ready for it, this is only game 1. It happens if it happens to you only if you let it happen to you. Like right. If you do work against them, like they can't talk. Yeah. So and the best part is they play them 3 more times. Exactly. So he'll get his chances to try to kind of counter him. So yeah. So we did talk about the first game between the Celtics and the Cavs. I'm sorry, Celtics and Cavs. And 6 minutes into the game, it just changed the whole season. It was, and before we, so talking about that, the irony of that incident occurring is after the injury happened. So Gordon, as you may or may not know, if you've been under a rock or if you're a basketball fan and may not be aware, Gordon Hayward did get injured in the first game. It was considered to be one of the most graphic injuries I've seen. I've witnessed the Paul George injury. I've witnessed the injury with the Louisville injury. I've witnessed the Sean Livingston injury when he was in Golden. I think it was in Golden State. Was it the Clippers? Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right. He was with the Clippers. I'm sorry. With the Clippers injury, like I've seen those, and all those were heavy. They were. I think this one just was a lot because it was like he just literally just sat. But it was interesting because after that injury occurred, everybody was playing very timid for good reason. Because it was like they looking at it like that could have been me.
So it was like just they played real within their means, which by nature you would do anyway.
That whole stadium, like everybody just in the stadium, you could just
everybody
had the same feeling. Everybody had the same look. You saw Kyrie Irving go over to I believe it was Marcus Smart or somebody, and he just like had his head like on his shoulder or something like that, and they were all just. I believe the Cavs started to pray a little bit too.
Yeah,
and it was just because it was just definitely a gruesome
Dwayne Wade took a knee, like he was down on one knee praying because it was just a lot happening. And before I go any further, I officially hate the internet, and I'm going to tell you why. You may not have seen this picture. If you haven't, look it up. I'm not going to share it because I thought it was too soon, but it was also confirmation of why the internet is undefeated. Just look for Gordon Hayward Twister, and if you're listening to the podcast, I'm going to detail it anyway. So they were, everything happened. Of course, the internet wasted no time. Someone took a picture, and it showed Gordon Hayward on a twister board, and he was in the position of him being injured. And I'm just like, I can't deal with people. Like, this is why the internet just doesn't have any sense at all. But yeah, he did injure. He had a very, very heavy injury. They stated it's a broken tibia and dislocated ankle. They were saying, as you mentioned, it was a clean break, regarding the injury. Him having it heal, it's not going to heal this season. So you have to, get the injury done. I mean, get surgery done. Yes. Go through physical therapy, rehab and stuff of that sort. They're looking at the possibility he'll be out for the remainder of the season. He did give his wishes because their second game was at Boston. He was on like their jumbotron, and it was at the hospital saying like, I'm just letting y'all know I'm all right. I appreciate all the fan support because you can tell they embraced him as a player as far as coming into Boston. So
because he wanted to be there,
right? So I mean, having that go down, and then he had just signed because it was. I mean, I almost was ready to ruin the whole moment. He just, he had just recently signed the contract, the 4-year, $128 million contract. So it was, we're putting our trust in him, and then having Kyrie coming in. This is that chance of, our chance of returning back. This now puts, I won't say pressure, but this puts Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and even Marcus Smart on watch and saying, all right, it's time for y'all to step up.
Yeah, all three of them. Also, and also Kyrie as well too. Now he has more on his plate as well too. Right. Al Horford has to do more work. Just as a whole team, they all have to step it up. But yes, those three are the ones who are going to get the most playing time because of what happened. And yeah, it's definitely just a bad scene to watch, and just bad for him as well as a player, just because he put in all that work to want to come there and want to like help the team win and try to make it to that conference final and try to beat the Cavs. Yeah. Now this happens, he has to wait a whole another year before he can even play a game. Exactly. It
was bad timing. I mean, it was bad timing. It was tough timing, but I mean, it's one of those things that happen. So, luckily, by being in the sport that they're in, they're able to go ahead and get them healed up, and he'll be back and ready to play.
So he was not the only one with the season-ending injury. Yeah, so early in the year.
This one I wasn't expecting because Jeremy Lin already as it was getting enough scrutiny and enough friction regarding the hair incident, which I thought shouldn't have been that big of a deal. Yeah. But obviously, Brooklyn was playing. I don't know why I want to say Charlotte, but I'm probably way off. They were playing the Pacers. He fell awkwardly on a drive going to the basket. It was late in the game too. They were already down in the game, and he fell, and it was a serious injury. And he scored. I mean, he had 18 points. Russell had 30 in that game, but just the big story was just him having that landing for that injury. As far as was it tibia? He had a partial tendon. Yeah,
ruptured patellar tendon. Yeah. It definitely was just that one was sad as well too. He was going to be the starting point guard alongside D'Angelo Russell, who actually just came in for the team. Yeah. They were playing well together as well too. Mm-hmm. And then just that happens, and that happens, it just changes the whole. It just changes the whole
whole thought process of the flow of the game.
Exactly. Because now D'Angelo Russell has to switch to playing the point guard, which he was going to be their long-term point guard. However, for this season, Jeremy Lin was a good point guard, and D'Angelo Russell was the best fit for the shooting guard position. Now he's had to change it up.
Right.
Play a point guard, other people. So they change up the whole lineup now.
Yeah.
And most likely this is going to... Because I thought they were going to be last place anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's kind of like... I feel like this kind of solidifies that they're going to be in the bottom 5 for sure.
Yeah, they could be going into the Michael Porter, Marvin Bagley's sweepstakes.
Fortunately, they don't have that pick and that.
Oh yeah, that's right. The Cavs, the trade fails again.
Yeah, so unfortunately, they don't have their pick for the last 10 years, the next 10 years. So
come on. Hopefully, I guess the only alternative would be if free agency is on their side, in regards to that. So going back to Kyrie, since we did address it, and it's a good question, good thought to think about. Do you think Kyrie is still in your talk of MVP from when we mentioned it?
It kind of changes it now, just because he had help before, and he was still going to be the leader. He's going to be the leader of that ship. Yeah. However, now he's a man down, and so far he started off the season very slow. Right.
It's a tall order. I know.
Exactly. He could turn things around. He's gonna have to get used to it now. If they end up with like 50 something wins, something of that nature, like in the 50s wins, okay, and he has the same stats that he had last year, I feel like he's gonna be in the conversation. Mm-hmm. However, I don't have him in the conversation anymore now. Okay. After that injury, I just don't have him in the conversation now, especially after how he's played without him. Yeah, it just makes it a lot harder on him.
Yeah, he's got a much larger role to play with the team.
If you were to make an early prediction on MVP, who would you put it on? Like, who would you say?
That's a good one. If he had the personality, but because he's such a generic player, I would say Kawhi Leonard. I know you, and I know that's gonna surprise you hearing me say that, but Kawhi Leonard is a guy who has like the tangibles of being an MVP. But the tough part is every year, like the past couple of years, he's made the All-Star team, and it's almost like I made the All-Star team. It's not.
Tim Duncan was like that too, though. Tim Duncan was like that too.
But Duncan also statistically, and maybe I'm just looking at it different. I think Duncan stood out statistically, but he also made sure players knew when they were playing. Like, I've heard Garnett tell plenty of stories about the two of them playing against each other, and just how Duncan was as far as a player on and off the court with the game. Kawhi, I think, is the same way, but I just don't. It's just not the personality. Like, it's just him. He's blander than Duncan, and that's a lot. I guess that's how I'm looking at it. If I had anybody beyond that, I could take the obvious shot. And I would my obvious shot if he's healthy all year is Durant.
I'm actually gonna go a little bit different. I'm gonna go out east. Okay. And I'm gonna go to Antetokounmpo. Okay. He started off very well. He started off doing pretty well.
They said they had him and LeBron. They had their matchup. They said that was a Giannis actually stepped up for that game.
Yes, however, he still fell a little bit short, but he definitely had a great game. Yeah. He definitely had a great game. In his first game, he had 37 and 13. In that game, he had a great game as well, too. He was like 18 of 22 shooting. Yeah. Or 17 of 22 shooting, which is ridiculous.
Especially when he's not really known for shooting. He's more to just drive and dunk.
Exactly. He could end up leading the league in scoring without even shooting threes, because right now I believe he's leading the league in scoring. Okay. So I believe he'll actually do it since he's improved every year. Mm-hmm. I believe this is his year. Kobe challenged him to win MVP this year too.
Yeah, So let's talk about that. We'll do that, and then we'll switch to stuff. I know I'm usually not doing this long in sports, but we're an hour and some change in sports. But it's because it's NFL. So before I forget, because this is that peak point. This is that one point of the year because it was either this week or last week where all four major sports were occurring. Basketball, football, hockey, and baseball. So we always have that. It's usually around this time of the year. Baseball, of course, is finishing up. Hockey just got started, and then of course, the NBA season just rolled. So
exactly.
But yeah, I just the Kobe breakdown. Kobe put a lot of names out there as far as like expectations to guys. Mm. I can't remember all of them that were listed. I guess that might have to be a reminder topic because He put some expectations on some players to like step up and show up for doing their part. Do you believe those? Do you feel like it's just something to kind of get the NBA talking?
With what? With the expectations for Antetokounmpo?
Just in general, because he has different ones out. He has. I don't know if you may or may not have seen it, but he has like different ones that he's shared.
No, I've not seen it.
Okay.
But it's for him, Antetokounmpo. I believe, he's being honest. I believe he's being honest whenever he says those type of things. He might be a little bit biased because he's closer to some of these people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I believe he's giving his honest opinion as well too. Like honestly, what he thinks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, because Antetokounmpo, he's the first person to be in the top 20 in points, rebounds, assists, blocks, and steals last year.
Yeah.
One of the only 5-6 players to lead his team in all 5 of those categories as well too.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I believe he's on the right path. Kevin Durant said he could end up being one of the greatest players to ever play. Saying that it's saying that he's definitely going to win MVP before his career is done.
Yeah.
So yeah, I believe that he's being honest with those evaluations, with those expectations.
All right, just curious. If I find the story, because I know it was like he mentioned it with different players. It was with John Wall. It was a group of them. I'll find it and we'll talk about it. I'll make sure I bring that to the next podcast. So now we go into the switch where we talk about our stuff. We have our tech talk, a little bit of music, and our famous and fave ass of the week. Before I go any further, there were two events a couple events that were going on. The third one I don't have in my head right offhand, but two events are going on right now in Denver, and actually, because I gave in Long Beach. In Denver, they're doing what's called DreamHack. DreamHack, if any of you may or may not be aware, is basically a gaming event that goes on for different tournaments, such as it's esports oriented. That'll be my best way of describing it. So you have various tournaments, and I'm telling Dimitri, and then I'll kind of show on the fly what's going on. Halo 5, CSGO, Hearthstone, Quake Champions, Smash is going on. Tekken 7, which I just picked up. I'm going to learn how to play that. That should be fun. Street Fighter 5, Guilty Gear, Marvel vs. Capcom, and Collegiate Esports. I'm not sure we talked about it on the podcast, but Collegiate Esports is kind of like the new wave as far as like going, doing college tournaments and stuff like that. But they have their schedule going on for that this weekend. Usually, anyone talks about DreamHacks, they automatically link it to CS:GO because that's the main game. But they are having like different fighting tournaments going on with that. Anyone, y'all know me all the time. I watch TV very little, so my TV usually is Twitch. And I worked most of this weekend, but it's no big deal. But TwitchCon did happen. That was in Long Beach. Their schedule is online. I have the links sitting in front of me, so I will go ahead and peg those and add those as show notes as well for both stories. But they did have a pretty good lineup of events going on. A lot of people have been taking pictures, videos. So if you look up hashtag TwitchCon 2017 or hashtag TwitchCon, you should find some pretty recent events as to what's going on with TwitchCon. First story, I was given the lead to take this since I'm the Xbox guy, which I can't be. It's such a contradiction of judgment, but it's so unique because I have a Mac, but I use as far as between the Xbox and PS4, I went Xbox. But Xbox did get their infamous massive update this year. It always comes in the fall. And to give you kind of a brief overview, they've changed the interface for their homepage where it's a lot cleaner. Initially, I'll say this, I'm not. This isn't just Xboxes because PlayStation, I believe, does. I feel like PlayStation does this as well. They will listen to the feedback of the users. Mm-hmm. So it's like if you look at, let's say you went on your PS4 and it took you 4 or 5 minutes to get the chat and it shouldn't take that long.
Yeah. Then
it's like, hey, here's an easier way that you can streamline it so I can get to this person and send a chat. That's the same thing that Xbox does. They did a lot of listening. They did a lot of feedback. When you bring up the homepage, if you hold the dashboard button or the main Xbox button, It brings up a smaller version of the menu. It covers over your actual page, and so you can see it and then kind of go in, and each thing is kind of like listed at the top. So whatever your achievements are, whoever your friends are, whatever tasks notifications, all of it's right there. So you don't have to like go different places and spend like 20 minutes just trying to find something simple.
Okay.
They've given the option because a lot of people have requested it, and this is random, but sometimes you had that moment. You can switch the theme. So the theme typically on Xbox, most of it know it is a dark theme. You actually have the option to do dark theme or light theme. The light theme was from anyone who used Xbox 360 will know exactly what I'm talking about. When the 360 dashboard would come up, the main little image would come up and it was white. Mm-hmm. You can get that color and that look and feel. The time, they have it in a better place at the bottom right hand corner, is much visible. You can see all your information as far as your batteries, things of that sort. Fluent design experiences. You can ping things like favorite friends to the home section, or you can pin. So pinning information is a big deal. Like you can pin certain apps, so you don't have to like go all over the place trying to find it. The friends tab has a brief overview of online avatars. A lot of new updates designed to keep pushing further into the menus. So you just go through the menus on your main page and not have to go separately from another page just to get it done. So little stuff like that they've updated. They've given, like I said, they're giving the light theme. If you have an OLED TV, you'll be glad to know that Microsoft is improving screen dimming. It's preparing, and all of this is being prepared because in a couple of months, and I'm gonna be talking about it. Anyone who knows me knows I'm always delayed on buying systems like this. But the new Xbox One X is coming out, so they're preparing all these updates for that system, and kind of getting that being pushed along. And you'll then have the support of the HDR and 4K. Currently, they are still selling. The update will be available for Xbox One and Xbox One S. It was released on, I believe it was Monday. I'm sorry. So last Monday, the update did come out, and I got it. I think I was able to pull it up, get it like right after I left work or whatever that day. So that's mainly, that's kind of an overview for the Xbox update in kind of a nutshell. You may have read more on this story than I did on the Apple story, so I will kind of chime in because I just found it to be funny because it's like everyone thinks that Apple is getting over when in reality Apple gets screwed on a lot of things certain times, and this is no exception.
Yeah, so they're saying that this how do you pronounce it? It was what, Vernon X?
Vernon X, yeah.
Yeah, Vernon X is the troll of patents. Mm-hmm. How I believe they were just I was reading a lot about it. However, for some reason I'm a little bit forgetting it right now. They're not having trouble. Apple's having trouble with this Vernon X in this case.
Yeah.
It's not finalized that they are paying the $440. I believe they're taking it to the next court. Mm-hmm. However, right now, as it is right now, it went up from $302.4 million.
Yeah.
Last year to $439.7 million. And right now, it's saying that Vernon X is elated at having won its third judge battle against Apple.
They haven't learned.
However,
yet.
It's not final though.
Yeah.
So they can take it up a little bit more.
Right.
The USPTO has already invalidated all of Vernon X's patents. Okay. So after this, it's going to make it hard for Vernon X to try to do the same thing against another company. Yeah. So I believe it was Microsoft that they did this to before. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how it goes. Well, if they do win this though, it may make it a little bit easier for them next time they try it though.
Right. And I know I threw that one at you kind of wildly, but I was like, because it was a trolley story, and then I was like, it's just one of those one-offs that happened.
Microsoft had to pay $200 million, for example.
Yeah.
So that definitely wasn't a little bit.
Yeah. So there were 3 jury trials against Apple. It's been a hot spot for patent holding companies seeking to sue tech companies. First was in 2002. The jury awarded $368 million in damages, and I'll share this in the show notes, and I'll share it with Dimitri as well. In damages, and the judge granted an ongoing royalty of 1%. Both of the holdings were overturned on appeal. February of last year, there was a second trial. It was a $625 million verdict. against Apple. It was thrown out because they didn't approve of Vernon X's lawyers' references in the 2012 trial. And the third trial was the $302 million verdict. Which is what the judge added to in his recent judgment.
And just to add on to a little bit about that, with the court rulings and stuff of that nature, as a Supreme Court ruling in May forced companies to sue in places where they're either based or do a large chunk of their business, preventing companies from cherry picking off of court districts that tend to favor trolls, such as the Eastern District of Texas, which is where this one is taking place.
Okay.
While this doesn't rule out future victories for Vernon X, they'll likely have slower legal processes and courts that aren't so likely to be so receptive to its demands.
Yeah, this is one of those, before this article, I never heard of Vernon X at all. Didn't know who they were. Had no idea. So that's why I was. And
I saw a little bit more into it. They're actually their stock actually went up a little bit. People started buying a little bit more of their stock
thanks to this
week. Yeah, thanks to that.
I can see that. So I tell Dimitri this all the time. A lot of times articles, I'll look at my watch and I'm like, oh, this will be a cooler article. And sometimes when I read into it, I'm like, this is something that would be, I would have never thought of even thinking about or addressing a topic like this. And that's to go without saying about the next topic, because I am an eBay buyer. I go on eBay a lot. I am very particular about buying things. I had one bad experience with eBay. It didn't scar me. It just was a lesson learned. I was supposed to be buying a pair of shoes from someone. This was years ago. And I never received the shoes. Of course, me knowing now what I know as far as like the whole dispute process and all that, would have probably did it much sooner in a much timelier manner. But I couldn't, even though I didn't receive the shoes or not receive them, one of the things that we look at or have to factor in when buying things is whether something is real or whether it's fake. And this is, granted, even though this isn't related to shoes, it's more about handbags, because in our previous role we did in our work, we would see a lot of disputes, or we would see a lot of questions come in about fake Louis Vuitton and Michael Koran, Chanel, yeah, all the different brand names. So eBay is now making sure that they verify if anybody, like, it has to be an authentic bag. Like, if it's not authentic, then they can take a slap on the wrist for it.
Yeah, so they're going to start doing this. I believe it's January 31st of next year, or January 31st of next. So, and what they're doing is, like, they're doing, like, they're doing a service for, like, so you have to pay 20% fee.
Yeah.
That's for the person who's actually selling the products.
Right.
They're the one, they don't get the full 100% of what they're actually selling. Now they only get 80% of it. And then it has to be at least $500, and it's for eligible items itself. Yeah. Okay. And I believe also it was like, so if something goes through and it passes through when it shouldn't have, I believe they get double the money back. So they get like it was 200% money back guarantee. So I believe that's double their money back.
That's smart. That's smart, because then that way folks who
they get it with the authenticity verified label.
Right. Consumers are unique creatures, and I'm saying that very openly and very loosely because I'm like that.
Yeah.
And I'll tell this story because it's kind of why I think I'm real particular about my tech. So I've always, anytime none of you all are here, and I'm sorry y'all aren't here, but no, the podcast, anytime I'm listening, like whenever I record the podcast and I'm listening to it, like I'll have on a pair of headphones. I wear Beats headphones, like the official Beats headphones. My first pair of headphones that I bought, I was on Craigslist and I found some guy who was like, yeah, I got Beats or whatever, and that he had the price, and I was like, all right, sure, I'll buy them. Mm-hmm. The Beats the headphones lasted for probably a couple of months because they were knockoffs. They were fake headphones. I had another experience with somebody else who sold me like a pair of they were supposed to be Beats Pro. They weren't authentic either. I bought them at a cheap deal. at a good deal. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll just pay for it and there's no big thing. Mm-hmm. The inner part of the headphone where your head sits, like when it sits on your head or whatever, this started to like it just did like this weird. I don't know. It basically was like it was falling apart, and I just was like, nah. So when I buy certain things, I'm all about quality, and I'm all about just making sure that I got what I paid for. So this is no exception. Some of the brand names that they listed: Balenciaga, Burberry, Chanel, Christian Dior. Some of these I'm going to pronounce, but I'm not going to do well because these are all out of my range of buying. Fendi, Goyard, Gucci, Hermes, Louis Vuitton, Prada, Valentino. So it's good that they're doing this because now they can kind of make sure people are selling customers the right product and not screwing them over basically. So that'll be good if you are buying or looking to buy purses, make sure you're getting them authentic. Most importantly, if you do buy stuff, and I'm saying this is, so I'm going away from, I'm going to return to the artist spotlight in a second.
Just some consumer tips.
Yes, this is a huge consumer tip because we both experienced this with calls and just general know-how. If you are going to buy a purse, go to the official purse's website. Do not go to a site that could possibly be a suspect site. Or just go to the store and buy the purse.
Or if you do go to a suspect site and they say it's original or something of that nature, have something showing that it says that it's going to be original.
Yes.
Just to back yourself up.
Because I cannot tell you how many times I've heard people say, oh, I bought this bag and it was on the official Louis Vuitton website. Well, what site did you go to? LouisVuitton.net. That's not their website. I'm sorry. It said it was, and people then expose themselves. We're so going off topic, but I don't care. It's my podcast. The problem with doing that is when you buy that type of product, then you're going to this website. Like the promotion where a lot of them get screwed and consumers, and I'm guilty of this, but I always make sure I'm knowing who these people are that I buy from. If you see something that's on Facebook that look like it's a good deal, it's not. It really is not a good deal. Just go and buy the product from a real company.
And if it says it's free and you have to put your credit card in, it's not free.
It's not free. It is definitely not free at all. All right. So we are going to go into our artist spotlight. The artist spotlight was generated thanks to the rap cypher battle, whatever you want to call it, that was done on BET last week. It generated a lot of attention. Not going to go into political details about it, but it was mainly stemming from that instance occurring. But this week's artist spotlight is Eminem.
Marshall Mathers.
The
third.
Mathers the third. Most people. So this week I'm gonna do something a little different. He has a lot of albums. He has a huge story. His main album was known his first album he did was Infinite. Anyone who knows him that really kept up with music, when Slim Shady came on the scene, it was kind of like an alter ego for his music persona.
Definitely.
Anytime you think of Eminem, you think of Dr. Dre, because he kind of got him on the map as far as getting him out there as an artist. He was from Michigan. One of his biggest movies was The 8 Mile.
Yes.
I'm not, like I said, I'm kind of like...
He has a lot of accolades as well, too.
Yeah.
As you said, he has a lot of albums. He has 10 number one albums on the Billboard Top 200. 5 number one singles on the Billboard Hot 100. He just has a lot of accolades, you could say itself. Just U.S. sales, 47.4 million albums sold.
Yep.
He was 83rd on the Rolling Stones 100 Greatest Artists of All Times. Also, the Rolling Stones named him the King of Hip Hop as well, too. Mm-hmm. You said his movie 8 Mile as well, too. That movie, he had his song Lose Yourself on it. He's the first rapper to have an Academy Award for Best Original Song. Or just won an Academy Award, period. And he's also had his own struggles as well, too. He's had all these accolades, things of that nature. He's had 15 Grammys. But he's had internal struggles. As you said, he has an alter ego.
Yeah.
He had, his mother said, like, he dealt with bipolar. He just dealt with
Yeah.
Prescription drugs as well too. Those issues as well. They said that he came onto those back when he was actually filming 8 Mile. Someone gave it to him because he was dealing with insomnia.
Yeah.
They gave him, I believe, I'm trying to think of which one of the drugs that they did give to him. It was just a prescription drug. Mm-hmm. They advised him, maybe you should get some for yourself. That's when he did, and then that's just when it started to pound up more and more. He said that he would consume anywhere from 40 to 60 Valium in a day, and Vicodin maybe like 30 in a day. He got his weight up to 230 pounds, and people would start to like not even recognize him. Mm-hmm. He heard someone telling, he heard like 2 people like in a Denny's like arguing like, is that Eminem? And someone said like, Eminem ain't fat. And just things of that nature.
Wow.
And that's why he disappeared from like the mid 2000s. He disappeared until like 2009.
Right.
When he came back with his album Relapse.
Yep. Which kind of played into that all going on.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna read an article, and I'm always finding like little stuff because it's related to, so one of his hit songs that everyone knows is Stan.
Yeah.
And that kind of ties into what you said. One of his biggest hits, Stan, details a fan's descendant into dangerous obsession through his letters to his rapper's hero. He explained the title character to Rolling Stone. He's crazy for real, and he thinks I'm crazy, but I try to help him at the end of the song. It kind of shows the real side of me. The song features a prominent sample of Dito's Thank You, which was a current hit, facing charges of homophobia. Eminem performed Stan at the 2001 Grammy Awards with an openly gay Elton John singing the chorus. And I mean, I think whenever you think of Eminem, and this is even tied into the whole rap discussion, or rap battle or cipher he did regarding Trump, Eminem has always been transparent as far as an artist.
Yes.
He does things that a lot of people don't like, but he's willing to take that risk in knowing what the outcome is in doing so. I like I said, I don't, and this is even, even tying into Trump. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I'll say, he definitely he also has like a violent type of rap scene as well too.
Yes.
He's definitely very, he definitely has very imagery as well too. Like he definitely describes it as much as well too. Mm-hmm. He tried to do a tour in Canada, I believe it was back like in 2005 or something of that nature. They tried to keep him out due to, as you said, the homophobic
remarks. Yeah,
remarks and stuff like that. They ended up not being able to.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's definitely dealt with homophobia charges on him as well too.
Right. Back in 2004, it was he did an anti-George Bush track called Mosh. And I always remember that song, not because of the song itself, but the video and just his approach in it was like his way of being political, but he was like musically being political. That's a term or a way of referring to it. But he had many albums. He had a very big career. He worked with another artist he worked with was Royce da 5'9". They did an album together called Bad, where they were under the Bad Meets Evil moniker, or whatever. And they just, it just was one of those things where music, he did that learning curve of music, like towards the late 90s, yes. Mid 2000s, or mid, 2000,
like early 2000s until like 2005 when he started to fall off the scene. Yeah. He also had some troubles like with it. Say like family struggles and stuff of that nature, which he was always open with in his songs.
Oh yeah,
and stuff like that.
Yep. So that's our story on Eminem. And like I said, normally, because I know usually I'm sitting here, I'm like, well, Eminem did this, he did this, and I'm like, nah, let me just give you my transparent, because I think Eminem was his own style of music when it came to like the rap scene at the time. So today's Ass of the Week is we're gonna call. So do we make this a boxing match, or do we just make this just a knockout?
Oh, this is a knockout.
Okay, all right.
So especially,
It's
a one-hitter quitter.
Yeah, this is a one-hitter quitter. Especially if you had to. You got somebody, you injure someone, and they're gonna be out 4 to 6 weeks
on your own team.
On your own team. So Bobby Portis and Nikola Mirotic don't like each other. They have not liked each other for a while, from what this story entails.
And in case you didn't know, they are on the Chicago Bulls.
Right, they both play for the Bulls, which, I guess they got to have something to fight about since they're not really having a good...
This is kind of like for a playoff spot.
Yeah, by far, because, right now, they're in the post-Wade Butler phase. Right now, I mean, your go-to guy, Zach LaVine.
Yeah, they're in the post-winning phase, is what you could say.
They're looking to Luke Laurie Markkinen to be kind of their go-to guy because he was part of the trade to get Butler.
Especially now since Mirotic isn't going to be there, since he was going to be the starter.
Right.
Bobby Portis was most likely going to be like fighting for minutes with like Markkinen, and generally when you're fighting for positions, fighting for minutes, things can get a little bit heated.
Yep.
This is when lines get crossed, though. Mm-hmm.
So from what I'm gathering, and they talked about it. So I give Joe Budden credit because I think about it on my podcast and talking about things because he detailed how I'm looking at it. Because you look at it as if it's a source and if something happened, this was in the locker room or this was in the practice facility. I don't want to be there. You know, that's on y'all practice time. But I understand it's 2017, so everything's a little bit more public, more open. Yeah. But somebody told, I guess, the news got out, or basically that they had they had an altercation because initially probably could have been just a regular playing basketball, going for a rebound, and they probably had a scuffle. And most times I'm assuming Bobby Portis was like, "No, I'm good. I ain't trying to be bothered." Whatever the case may be. Then you turn around and it keeps coming back and forth. Now it's all right. You don't push me, and I'm sorry. You just gonna have to go ahead and take this hand. And I won't say sucker punched him, but
because they said that it was not. They described it as not a sucker punch, mm-hmm. and that both people were to blame.
Yeah.
However, the punch was inexcusable.
Yeah, the punch just kind of pushed it, and he injured Nikola Mirotic, where he's gonna be out 4 to 6 weeks
with some fractured facial features.
Right.
And so they made it sound like they wouldn't have suspended him if he wouldn't have been hurt. Like if Mirotic wouldn't have been hurt. That's what it sounded like to me.
Right.
From what Paxson was saying.
Yeah.
That he had to suffer the consequences now.
Yeah. Then keep in mind that this is the good part about this. The Bulls suspended him, not the NBA. Yeah. So that's what makes it. That's where, adding to what you said, by being if it wasn't as bad and he didn't get injured,
I don't believe he would have been suspended.
He wouldn't have been suspended.
Just because it happens, things get heated in terms of battle on the court.
Yeah.
So things get a little bit heated, a little bit of a scuffle. Just dust yourself off, get up and keep playing.
Yeah.
However, you start breaking bones, hurting other people.
Yeah. Take that 8 game L. Sit down, think about it, be humble, and that's basically what happened with Bobby.
It's gonna help for their push to the number one pick.
So they got a stronger chance on getting the pick. But yeah, I mean it's I can't I've and this is we both have played ball for our fair share. I've always been, I guess I'm always usually the person trying to break up a fight, or I try to stay away from the fight. Because it's usually, if you go in and try to break it up, you get hit by a haymaker. And I'm like, nope, I'm good. Or if it was I'm trying to get in, it's like, look, y'all fighting. Or usually for me, it would be if I watch little kids trying to play basketball and they fight with each other and they can't fight. It's like, all right, y'all stop. This is a waste of time. We were doing something more productive. And this, as you mentioned, it shouldn't have been this extreme. Robin Lopez brought up a good point, that the Bulls players felt that there was blame on both sides. Bobby Portis was regretful about what he did, talked about it. They talked about it as a team overall. It's still fresh and is all new, but as a team, they feel it's blame on both sides. The team feels like it's a blame on both sides, like it shouldn't have gotten to this point, but just like you said, the punch was inexcusable. The punch
can't hurt your own team.
The punch is just as inexcusable as Lynch bumping into the referee. So I mean, you just gotta be thinking of what you're doing and not just saying, all right, I'm just gonna do something because that's what I feel like doing. Yeah,
to protect a player on the other team from
right. So that's all. Wow. These podcasts, I can't control time. I've learned I never let time be a source because I've seen podcasters record much longer. Mm-hmm. But yeah, hour 47, as you always say, if y'all hung through, y'all definitely the real MVP.
Definitely.
But I'm sticking around. But this has been a good podcast. We're gonna be back at it next week. I know soon the episodes may get later, and we'll look at. It's gonna probably be like a projection as far as working it'll probably be, you'll be listening to recordings for an upcoming week of scheduling. We'll figure out how it works on like with football schedule season and stuff like that. But as always, any closing thoughts before we shut it down?
Nah, just enjoy the day of football.
Yeah, enjoy the day of football. Hopefully we get our picks right, and most importantly, don't buy fake stuff. Y'all take it easy. I'm Paz signing out. Did you make it to the end of the episode? If so, I do appreciate you listening and tuning in. These episodes get more and more valuable, and I do appreciate everyone taking time to sit down and listen to the episode. Whether you're actually listening to it once it's uploaded on Spreaker.com/Brate Podcast, or if you're downloading it and listening to it on your own convenience. If you want to check out any previous episodes, just check out that page. And if you'd like to inquire or provide any information or feedback or suggestions toward the podcast, please send those emails to passpodcastbt@gmail.com. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Enjoy your day. Have a good week and be positive.